are also overloaded with people. To solve the problem, a toll system to reduce car traffic within the city was established in 2003. The license plate of each incoming vehicle is filmed, and the owner then charged a hefty price. But surveillance cameras in London are nothing new, and the ones used for traffic management were already part of a bigger project called the Ring of Steel.
The Ring of Steel was primarily aimed at logging and tracking vehicles, because that's how the IRA were attacking the City of London, was by loading up lorries with Semtex and then exploding them. London was a really different place in the 90s. Particularly in this area, there'd been a number of bombing campaigns. There hadn't been a huge loss of life because this is the financial district. But what was happening was that the buildings that were being targeted housed major multinational corporations, and they were threatening to leave the City of London. So people were getting really concerned about the threat of the IRA. So this system was really brought in to protect the businesses in the financial district. But I think what's interesting about it is it was brought in as a temporary measure, and we still have it, and it's been extended.
I didn't count them personally, but the quantity of surveillance cameras in London is said to be somewhere around 11,000 and counting.
CCTV in general is everywhere in London now. It's one of the most surveilled places in the world.
Actually, I heard that each Briton could possibly be photographed by a CCTV camera 300 times per day.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's meant to be about 2.4 million CCTV cameras over the UK now. And this is like the specific CCTV system that is used for the Ring of Steel. So the top box is a light, and then the camera underneath that, that's to film the person's face. And then the one underneath is to capture the number plates, to track and find out exactly who was driving which vehicles into the City of London at all times. Another thing that went alongside the use of the cameras was to restrict the amount of entry points into the city. So before that, there'd been like over 100 different ways to get into the city, which obviously was hugely difficult to police and to monitor. So what they did was they restricted that number down to 19 entry points. And the way they do that is by using like particular sort of bollards that look pretty in the landscape, planting trees, planting like huge flower boxes that are kind of reinforced steel and concrete as a way of blocking off roads. So it's really quite subtle. I don't think that Londoners necessarily realise on a day-to-day basis how much they're being traced. But I think one of the problems with CCTV in London is that we now have so many cameras that who's actually watching? And I think that people are now becoming aware that maybe CCTV isn't the answer, because it's not very preventative. It kind of deals with after the event. So we're just here on Finsbury Market, and I think this is a really perfect example. I mean, if you look around you, there's one here, there's one here, there's two here, two more there. There's one here, there's one here, this like 3D globe above the door, and then there's two more here. So I think that kind of shows you, like, you really could have like maybe three, like 1, 2, 3, and the whole place would be mapped. But instead, you've just got like this wealth of imagery, and there's just too much data. So it kind of argues itself out of existence.
This invasive monitoring system is now being increasingly critiqued. With an estimated 1 crime solved for every 1,000 cameras and a cost of several hundreds of millions of euros, we can understand the widespread dissatisfaction.
How has this changed the urban landscape?